Hello, what's going on, everyone? Thank you so much for joining me here this morning on Narcissism 101 Cracking the Code with me, Paul Wisdom. Good morning. Hope everybody's having a great Monday morning so far. Thank you so much for joining me here this morning. Before we get into what we're going to talk about today, if you would like a one-on-one session, please feel free to email me at paul.wisdom_03@hotmail.com, or you can send a text message to 647-406-3057. If you want to talk, if you want to vent, if you need some advice, if you're just looking for someone to ask questions, if you want to know something about narcissism, if you have any questions about anything that I posted, please feel free to reach out. I'd be more than happy to give you the help that you need. I will say that if you do want to call, just send a text to that number and just let me know that it's you, and let me know about your narcissistic experience, and that you've been watching my videos for quite some time, and then we can get you the help that you need. If you just call the number, unfortunately, I may just block the number just because I just don't answer private numbers unless they message me first, and then I know who it is. So just do me a favor, just message me first. Let me know who you are, just so that I have an understanding of who you are and what you're looking for, okay? Thank you so much. All right, so what we are going to talk about today is narcissistic marriages are doomed from the start. Yes, and actually, this video is actually one of my clients suggested that I do a video, on the idea of narcissistic marriages and the fact that they are doomed to the start from the start. One of my clients sent me a video for me to watch. And in this video, what I saw when I watched this video is that this woman, 30 days into their marriage, she's already complaining, and she's getting very angry and acting irate about the fact that the husband, he won't put her on the deed or anything like that, or on the life insurance. And they've only been married for 30 days. And already she's yelling and screaming at him, and she's giving him a hard time. I guess the best case scenario, guys, is for him to probably file for divorce, because because when people act like that towards you, especially if you've only been married for 30 days and they're already showing you that side of them, then I can just tell you that it won't get better than that. And the reason why, until this video, why narcissistic marriages are doomed from the start, it's because of things like these. These are things that only a narcissistic person would do something like that. Because narcissists, you have to understand, narcissists want everything, but they don't want to do anything to get the things that they ask for. They remember what I had mentioned before, that narcissists, they have a high sense of self-importance, where they believe that they're up here and they believe that everybody else is at the bottom. They believe that they should be able to have access to everything and everyone. Narcissists believe that everybody should bow down to them. Remember, I talked about one of my other videos that they have a superiority complex, a God complex. Yeah, that means that they think that they're above, they're just high above, and everybody should worship them. And in this scenario, narcissists, for this marriage, it's doomed to fail. It's going to fail just by the fact that she's being irate and acting so crazy about something like that. She can't even look at it and say, okay, maybe not yet. We just got married 30 days ago. We need to, get to know each other. That's what a loving, stable, healthy person would do. They would say, I want to get to know my spouse. I want to spend the rest of my life with my spouse. Once the marriage goes on in the next 20, 30 years, then we can think about, life insurances and everything like that. But if we've just gotten married and we need to, settle down, and you're getting irate about something like that, then, that marriage is just doomed to fail. And all narcissistic marriages are doomed to fail. Just because narcissists, like I said, they're never, the other thing with narcissists is that they're never happy. They're never satisfied. They can't be satisfied with just one person, just because narcissists get bored easily. Now, when I say bored, I'm not necessarily talking about the fact that narcissists get bored with that person per se. What narcissists get bored from is the fact that that person is no longer new anymore, right? They're not, because as we understand, as normal human beings, people change over time, right? Our looks change, our interests change, naturally people just change, right? Because that's just the normal course of life running its course, right? That we all change, we all get older, we all experience have different experiences that change our perspectives on life, right? So if that's the case, then that means that we all change, right? Things change, right? But narcissists believe that everybody that they should be able to have get everything that they want, right? And narcissists believe that people should, stay the same. But and that's why narcissists, you can't win with narcissists because their expectations of what they have of other people are unrealistic, right? I'll give you an example right here on unrealistic expectations. When I was married to my ex wife, who turned out to be a narcissist, obviously, how you guys know. I remember when we were supposed to go to church one morning, and she tells me, I'm gonna stay home. I have things to do, and I'm just like, oh, but you usually do those things when we get home, babe, don't you? And then we get on with the rest of the day after we come home from church, right? And he's like, no, I have some very important things to do today. I'm like, okay. So then I went on to church by myself, and then everything's okay. I come home, and then my ex-wife, she's there sitting there in a chair, on her desk, near her desk, and it looks like she just finished crying her eyes out, and I'm just like, huh, what's going on here? And then I walk through the door, and then I get into some comfortable clothes, because it's been quite a long day at church, right? And so I got home, and then I change, but then I go to the bathroom. I go to the bathroom to use the washroom, and then I notice that her toothbrush isn't in the same spot, that it's usually. So I was like, huh, okay, and then I walk over to my ex-wife and I'm just like, babe, is everything all right? What's wrong? And then she's like, Paul, I want to separate. And I'm just like, what? Okay. And then I dropped what I was doing. I was like, okay. So what's the matter? I'm sorry to hear that. What has you wanting to do this now? And then she's just like, I can't be the wife you want me to be. And then I'm just like, okay. You asked me because what happened was she had asked me to write down some things that she wanted me to write down on paper what she wanted from me for her to improve as a wife. And some of the things I wrote down were pretty basic stuff, help around the house, help cook, help clean. Notice how I didn't say cook and clean, I said help, right? Because we're a team. Well, as I thought we're supposed to be a team, right? So I said, I want you to help cook. I want you to help clean. I want you to, be supportive of my dreams, like I'm supportive of you. And, very basic stuff that every married, healthy, stable married person should know of, right? And so and so when she said that, I was like, okay. So then my question was, so what can you contribute to the marriage? And then she's like, you're not getting it. You don't get it. And I'm just like, okay. So I asked her, I was like, so let me get this straight then. So you want me to do all the cooking. You want me to do all the cleaning. You want me to pay all the bills. You want me to plan events for us to do, even though you always ruin those events by making up an excuse saying you're going to go see one of your friends instead. And you're always the one saying that you want to spend more time together. So how is that, productive to spending time together and showing respect to me is what I asked her. And then she's just like, no, you don't get it. I just can't anymore. I rented a U-Haul. And I'm just like, you what? And then she told me she rented a U-Haul. And I'm just like, why did you do that? Why didn't you tell me? And then, now I'm standing there. I'm a little frustrated now because I just want to spend, my day after church just resting and taking it easy. But then I come home to having to deal with this. And then I say, okay, so if I do all this, if I continue to cook and I continue to clean and if I continue to do everything, is that what's going to make you stay in this marriage? Are you going to leave me? And then she's just like, no, I'll stay. And I'm just like, okay. So I'll continue to do everything then. I'll continue to cook. I'll continue to clean. I'll continue to do everything by myself. Is that what you want? What do you want? Is that what you want? And then, I'm getting frustrated now because I'm a little bit annoyed because, I just can't believe that this is what their marriage has become, almost 3 years later, right? I'm a little disappointed. I'm frustrated now, right? And so, we move on. But the reason why I told you guys the little story here about me and my ex-wife was just because narcissistic marriages are doomed to fail in that respect also, because narcissists, they don't care about anybody. Clearly, from what I just told you, she doesn't care about contributing to the marriage. She only cares about what I was providing. She didn't care about me or the marriage or us being married. So what I'm saying, guys, is that narcissistic marriages, they are doomed to fail. And that is why I mentioned in one of my videos previously, and if you're new to this channel, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate having you here. One of my videos was entitled, what is the biggest number one reason that you are dealing with a narcissist? What is the biggest, how do you know you are dealing with a narcissist? The number one thing I said, way that you will know you're dealing with a narcissist, is if everything feels one-sided. This is something that most commentators, content creators don't talk about. Most narcissist influencers don't talk about. But you have to understand, if everything feels one-sided in the relationship, and like I said, I'm not saying I'm perfect, just because when I met my ex-wife when we were dating, I felt like, I was giving more than she was giving, right? But I just thought that I was helping someone. I thought that later on, as we got to know each other, I thought that things would get better and that she would, repay me, that she would say, you know what, I owe you, respect. I owe you, making sure that I'll be there for you and support you. So I was under the impression that, yeah, things will get better, right? But as I've discovered, and as many of you are understanding now, things don't get better with narcissists. They only get worse, right? And so what you have to understand, and the biggest way you know you're dealing with the narcissist is if every single thing feels one-sided. Guys, if it feels like you're giving more than you're getting, then that is a huge red flag that you are dealing with someone who's a narcissist. Because any normal, stable, healthy person would realize that everything goes both ways. Life goes both ways. That relationships especially, it's give and take. You give, I take. I take, you give. It's like playing pin, like that tennis. Like, yeah, it's like playing that like tennis. Like you hit the ball back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's almost like you guys are in a tennis match, like that, back and forth. Same thing with relationships. They're supposed to be back and forth. But with a narcissist, it's not back and forth. It's you doing everything and them doing absolutely nothing. Right. So one other thing I want to mention, something else I want to mention here, when it comes down to the fact that narcissistic marriages are doomed to fail, is that if your spouse, because we need to talk about what to look for before we get involved with these people, before we get married to these people. So what you need to look for as well, if your partner, before you guys even get married, if they're already talking about things like, wanting to, about things like money, like now everybody's going to talk about money at some point. But what I'm talking about is, life insurances and this and that. If they're bringing this stuff up before you guys have even gotten married, and let's say that you guys haven't been together that long, and you decide to get married, if they're already talking about this stuff, that's also a huge red flag, right? Because what that says is that they're not in the relationship to share and to be honest and to be authentic and to be fair with you. What they are really saying to you is that they want to get with you as close to you as possible in order to get access to those things. Because what you have to understand too about narcissists is that they want access to everybody. They want all the access that they can have so that once the relationship ends, that they can have those things and then that person is left with absolutely nothing. Right? So it's really important that you guys pay attention to these things, right? Because these are some of the things, this is why with narcissistic relationships, one other thing I mentioned is that the reason why they're also doomed to fail is because they go super fast. Right? The relationship goes faster than usual, meaning they get to know you fast. They move in with you fast. Everything feels so fast. And the reason why it feels so fast is because narcissists, they don't like taking their time. Narcissists don't have, the spirit of patience. And that's one of the fruits of the spirit in the Bible is patience. Narcissists don't have patience. They want to get as much from people as they can. Narcissists don't love. They don't have love. Anybody who's a normal, healthy, stable person and is in a relationship will take their time to get to know this person, get to know their likes, get to know their dislikes, get to know how they handle situations under pressure, get to know, how they treat their family, how they treat, their loved ones, how they treat their people at work. They get to know the person for who they are. And like I said before, and many people are gonna disagree with me on this, but I don't care because it's my channel and I can say whatever I want. Many people are gonna disagree with me when I say this, but my thing is, if you want to really get to know a person, your best bet is to get to know them for 5 years total. Now that seems like a lot to some of you, and honestly, but that's just my opinion. That's what I believe. I say 5 years because what we have to understand is that life goes by very, very fast, right? And sometimes when let's say you've known somebody for only a year, sometimes a year, it feels like a month. It feels like it hasn't been that long since you guys knew each other, right? And the thing is that a year or 2 years, it just doesn't feel long enough for you to get to know them, right? It doesn't feel like you've rode the waves with them, like you've seen them, at their worst or their best. You haven't seen enough of them yet, right? Because they haven't gotten enough time with you. Because remember, when you're dating someone in the dating stages, usually if you want a healthy, stable relationship with them, usually you guys don't live under the same roof. Usually you guys aren't living together. And if you're a Christian, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. Because I didn't do that with my ex-wife when we were dating. We didn't live together, right? I lived with my parents at the time, and she lived, in a housing, she lived in a housing behind the school or whatever else. But what I'm saying is that your best bet, you need to make sure that you get to know a person within, get to know a person for 5 years before you make any long-term commitments with them. Because by the time it hits 5 years, then you've known inside of your mind that you've done enough due diligence by then, right? Because a lot can change within 2 years very, very quickly. So a lot can change in 5 years, yes. But what I'm saying is that 5 years is a lot longer than 2 years, right? And 5 years, you've had enough time to sort of process things, think things through, and all those different types of things. You get to ride the waves with this person, right? That you've dated and you've seen through thick and thin. You guys have been through a lot, and now you guys can make a decision to commit to each other, right? That's why I say, and when my client showed me this video and I watched it, that's why I even said to my client, I was like, this is why, it's very important for people to get to know each other, really get to know each other for quite a bit of time before they make the decision to get married to them. Because what people need to understand, more and more people need to understand, is that marriage, it's not like dating. And this is something that many people, not just in the secular world, but Christians often believe this too, that, dating and, being married are one and the same. Well, it's more the secular world that believes that, Christians not really, but I'm just saying that more and more people need to realize that living together and being married, it's not the same thing. Because if you just live together with somebody, let's say that you're not married to them, but you guys live together, and the new thing that they call is common law. If you guys just live together, then you're not really committed to them. Because the thing is that if you just live together, that person, if they live together, let's say that you guys brought property together. Let's say that you guys purchased a pet together. Let's say a dog or a cat or whatever pet. You purchased a pet together. Let's say you purchased a car together. Let's say you purchased a home even together. And let's say that you guys weren't married, right? You guys didn't have any legal bindings with between the two of you, right? Then what can happen if you guys are just dating and you're not married? That person can easily walk away from you and steal all those things. And guess what's going to happen? The courts can't do anything about that. And the reason why is because you guys are not married. You guys don't have any legal binding, equitable distribution between the two of you, right? And so the courts can't do anything about that because you're not married. But if you're married, on the flip side, now I'm not trying to convince anyone to say get married rather than live together. Everybody can choose what they want to do. What I'm saying is that in order to figure out, in order to build a healthy, stable relationship, you ought to, weigh the pros and weigh the cons, right? If you just date somebody, right? The other thing about dating too, if you're just dating someone, just living together, the thing with that too is that there's this level of insecurity, because when you move in with somebody, then they're going to be insecure. Why? The answer is because what's going to happen is that they're going to always be thinking in their minds that you're going to, now, hold on. I know that this happens in marriage too. I get it. But what I'm saying is that more or less when you're dating someone, usually when people get married, it's because because one or both of them is committed. It's a commitment, right? When you marry, you're committed. You have that in your mind that I'm committing to this person for life. But if you're just dating the person, then you haven't made any real commitments with them, right? And the thing is that, you guys both don't take each other seriously, and other people won't take you guys seriously either, right? If you tell your friends or whomever, your boss or whoever, this is my guy or this is my girl, you know what I mean? Rather than this is my wife or this is my husband, they'll take you more, they'll respect you more, and you'll get more respect. Now, like I said, everybody to each his own, everybody chooses to do what they want. But I'm just saying that a lot of times narcissistic people, what they do is they want to move in with people just like that, and they want things to go fast. And the reason why they do that is for two reasons. One, it's because they want to isolate that person, to take whatever they can from that person just so that they can leave them just like that, and then they're gone. That person's just left with nothing, right? And the second reason why narcissists want to move in, narcissistic people, move in, like really fast, things go fast, is because narcissists, like, they want to control. They want the control, knowing that they have control over this person. Because narcissists, believe it or what you need to understand too, is that narcissists, they're never just involved with just one person. Even though narcissists may be married to that person, they're not just involved with that person. They're also involved with their exes. They're involved with, many other people whom you will never know about. And that's because narcissists want control, right? They want to control as many people as they can at any one time, right? And so that's why narcissistic, marriages, they're always doomed to fail from the beginning, right? Because the narcissist and the thing is, the narcissist knows that it's doomed to fail. But the thing is that the narcissist just doesn't want you to know that, right? The narcissist wants to future fake you and make you believe that you guys are in it for the long haul. That's one thing my ex-wife said when we were married. One of the things she said was, I'm in it with you for the long haul. And that came out to not be true, obviously, because she up and left and abandoned the marriage. But what I'm saying is that this is what narcissists do, because they've done it multiple times. And now, I don't know if my ex-wife was married before. It could very well be a possibility that she was married before and I didn't know about it, right? But what I'm saying is that these are some of the things that narcissists do. And that's why that's why marriages specifically are doomed to fail, right? Because they don't look at marriage as a commitment. They look at it as a license to be able to have control over the person that they were marrying. Whether it's a narcissistic wife or a narcissistic husband, they look at marriage as a license to be able to be in control, because they want to believe that they should have the upper hand, but yet they don't do anything to show that they deserve the upper hand. Right? So these are some of the things that you guys need to pay attention to and to look for. If things are going a little bit too fast, then you know that that's a narcissistic person that you're dealing with. Now, I understand. I mean that, sometimes you really connect with someone and you guys are really getting to know each other and you guys have similarities. I get that. But what I'm saying is that more or less, if it feels like it's going too fast, right? Like it feels like you guys already know each other within a month. That's a little bit too fast, right? Like you guys need to be able to see each other through thick and thin. See how each other handles things, handles money. That's another thing. See how each other handles money, right? If you see that your spouse is a spender. Let's say loves to spend money. Now it all depends, right? Like if they know that they need that thing and they need to spend money on it, then you would be understanding. But what I'm saying is that if they're constantly spending money on stuff that you guys do not need, and let's say that they start hoarding stuff and there's boxes of stuff everywhere and there's things everywhere that haven't been used for a year or two, and then you're just wondering, why do we have all this stuff? And then before you know it, things are stacking up all over the place. Then you know that you're dealing with a narcissist, because narcissists, they love to hoard things not for the sake of hoarding them per se, but they love to hoard things for two reasons. One, the first reason is because they narcissists believe that they should have everything. They should be able to have everything, and that they are never satisfied with just having one, let's say, box of books. They need to have 10 boxes of books that they will never read, right? Narcissists also, the reason why they hoard things is to punish their partner, to punish their spouse, right? Because what they want to do is they don't want there to be enough space in the house so that the spouse can, breathe and be able to, relax. They want that spouse to always be moving around and doing things all the time, right? While they sit back and just watch and smirk at their spouse like that. And then the spouse is, tired. They're getting exhausted, right? Because the narcissist knows exactly what they're doing, right? Guys, you have to understand, they know, they've been doing this from the beginning of time, right? And so that's why narcissistic marriages are doomed to fail from the beginning. And the other thing that I want to say before I close this video, the other thing you need to keep in mind too, why narcissistic marriages are doomed to fail from the beginning, is because narcissists don't love. They don't know how to love. Love is a foreign language to narcissists, right? Narcissists don't love, they lust. The difference between love and lust is that love, when you love somebody, you will go to great lengths for them in a very authentic and genuine and honest way. That's what it means when you truly love someone. When you're lusting after someone, you want things to go very fast. You're just lusting what you see on the outside. You're not looking at them for who they are. You're lusting the outside appearance. Appearances, yes, they're important. We want a spouse that's good looking, a wife that's beautiful and sexy and all that, and and we want a husband that's 6'4" and has a lot of money and this and that. But it's not all about appearances, guys. It ain't all about appearances, because looks fade over time, and people change over time as well, right? And so what you have to understand, and like I said, to each his own. Everybody's going to do what they want. But I'm just explaining to you that these are some of the things that narcissists believe. Narcissists don't care about loving people for who they are and loving and being genuine and authentic. That's not what a narcissist does. Narcissists are in it, because they believe that they should be entitled to have everything, right? That's why narcissistic marriages are doomed to fail and are destined to fail. Right? So anytime you see any of these things, then your best bet is to pull back a little bit and really start asking some questions, not just to yourself, but start asking your spouse or your person that you want to marry. Start asking them some questions, right? And and how they answer these questions will tell you everything you need to know about them. If they answer those questions in a passive aggressive way, or they ask the questions with sarcasm, or if they answer the question with a question and they start questioning you and flipping it on you, then you know that you're dealing with someone who's narcissistic. Because the other thing about narcissists too is that narcissists don't like to answer questions. They don't answer your questions, right? They like to flip it around on you so that they don't have to take accountability, right? Because narcissists hate accountability, because they know that they've destroyed so many people's lives before, and they know that they will destroy your life eventually if you decide to go forth with them, right? So we need to catch these things, and that's why I create these videos, so that more and more people can be aware of these things and be aware of what to look for. You're not being judgmental. All you're doing is you're just paying attention to red flags. You're paying attention to things that seem too good to be true. Because often what happens is we overlook the things that look too good to be true, because we fall head over heels for this person. We fall in love with them. We fall in love with, the version of them that we want them to be and not exactly who they are. But we need to start looking at the version of that person of who they are so that we can make the right decision and not just make that decision based off of how we feel. You guys understand what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. Yeah, guys, so I hope that this video helped you out. Thank you so much for joining me here this morning on Narcissism 101, Cracking the Code with me, Paul Wisdom. Like I've said before, if you would like a one-on-one session, please email me at paul.wisdom_03@hotmail.com, or please send a text message to 647-406-3057. If you want to talk, if you want to vent, if you need some more advice, if you're trying to figure out if you're dealing with a narcissist or not, if you need some more, if you just have some questions for me, please feel free to reach out. If you want to call, just send a text to that number and just let me know that it's you first, and then we can get you the help that you need. I just thought of something else before I close this video, and then I'm going to close. One other thing that you have to know about narcissists when it comes down to narcissistic marriages is that when it comes down to narcissists, if narcissists are constantly talking about money all the time, they're always asking you how much money you have, and they're so concerned about, the job that you have, if you have a job and all this stuff. That is also a huge red flag. Now, hold on. I understand that as a man, in the marriage, if you're a Christian man, that is, like myself, that your obligation is to provide, right? Because, the Bible speaks about that. But what I'm saying is that even if you're not a Christian, let's say you're not a Christian and your spouse is always talking about money. How much money do you have? And, what job do you have? What do you do for work? And they're always it's like they're hyper-focused on it. If they're hyper-focused on that, that is a huge red flag. And it is a huge red flag because because let me tell you guys something. If somebody truly loves you and they truly care about you, money should have nothing to do with that in your relationship or marriage, right? Because the thing is that money can't buy happiness, and money isn't everything. Money comes and money goes, right? So if someone truly loves you, money shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter how much money he makes or how much money he doesn't make or how much money she has, how much money she doesn't have. That shouldn't matter if you truly love him or her. Right? So keep that in mind. Very, very important thing I wanted to put in there before I close the video. So guys, thank you so much for being here today. Like, subscribe, drop a comment below, share it with somebody who you think could use the knowledge. If you see that somebody is in a situation like this, let them know about it. Also, watch the podcast that I spoke on my narcissistic experience, and then you can gain some knowledge on that. Thank you so much.